All right, let's dive into Dutch innovation.
Always a fascinating topic.
It really is. Everyone pictures windmills and tulips.
Right, but it goes so much deeper.
Oh, way deeper. We've got centuries of ingenuity to uncover here, right?
Absolutely. From their fight against the sea to some seriously futurist stuff.
Speaking of that fight against the sea,
Yeah.
this is a country that's basically built itself out of the water, isn't it?
It is. They've been reclaiming land for centuries.
I mean, the sheer willpower that must take.
And engineering. We're talking massive projects.
Like that absolute dike, right? Turning an ocean inlet into a lake, that's 1932.
That's right, the absolute dike. Over 32 kilometers long.
Okay, hold on. 32 kilometers, that's
A huge wall, essentially, creating a whole new province, Flivoland.
out of the sea. It's hard to even picture the scale.
It was a game changer. Showed what they could do with hydraulics, with construction.
And that was almost 100 years ago? What are they up to now?
Even digger things. Look at the Maze anchoring. A movable storm surge barrier.
This protects Rotterdam, right? The port.
Exactly. It's got these enormous gates.
So if there's a storm surge coming,
The barrier activates.
that's like a giant automated door holding back the sea,
Pretty much. Sensors monitor everything. Water levels, weather,
keeping the city safe.
blending their old knowledge of water with cutting-edge tech.
That seems to be a recurring theme, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That blend.
Definitely. You see it everywhere.
Okay, but it's not just about holding back the water.
No, they're working with it too. In some amazing ways.
You're talking about the floating houses, aren't you?
Maasbommel, for example. Homes that rise and fall with the tides.
So your house is just bobbing on the water.
In a controlled way, of course.
Yeah.
Designed to be safe, comfortable.
But still, imagine waking up and your house is a bit higher or lower than the day before.
It's adapting to the environment, and it's a solution to rising sea levels, too.
Makes a lot of sense, actually. But how does everything work? Like the plumbing, electricity?
They use flexible utilities that adjust to the water level.
So it's not just a quirky idea, it's a fully functional way of living.
Exactly. And they're very eco-friendly, too, often incorporating solar power and other sustainable features.
It's like Dutch practicality meets futuristic living.
That sums it up well.
But wait, they're not stopping at floating houses, right? There are plans for entire floating cities.
Projects like Blue 21. Imagine self-sufficient communities out on the water.
Okay, now that sounds straight out of science fiction. Neighborhoods, businesses, all floating.
And sustainable. Generating their own energy, managing their own resources.
It's a wild idea.
Yeah.
But is it actually possible?
The Dutch are figuring it out. They're researching new materials, construction methods specifically for this.
So it's not just a dream, they're actively working towards it.
That's the thing about the Dutch. They're pragmatic visionaries.
Love that description. Okay, one more floating thing before we move on.
That farm.
Ah, the floating farm. Cows grazing on a platform in Rotterdam Harbor.
It's such a striking image. But it's more than just a cool visual, right?
It's about sustainable food production, bringing food sources closer to urban centers. So less transport, less environmental impact.
And it's innovative, space efficient.
Okay, I'm sensing a theme here. Water management, floating homes, floating farms.
They're turning challenges into opportunities. It's a very Dutch approach.
Makes you think about what other impossible things they might make possible.
Well, their ingenuity goes way beyond just the water.
Oh, I know. I want to hear about those windmills next.
The iconic windmills. But they're not just for show, you know?
I have a feeling there's more to them than meets the eye.
Much more. Let's talk about their history, their mechanics. They were more than just picturesque additions to the landscape.
Yeah, they seem almost too charming to be practical.
Oh, they were incredibly practical. For centuries, they were these ingenious machines.
This is not just for grinding grain like you see in the postcards.
That was a big part of it, of course. But they also used them to drain land.
Oh, right. Because so much of the Netherlands is below sea level.
Exactly. The windmills will pump water out, keep things dry.
It's like an eel battling the water with the power of the wind.
And they were used for all sorts of things, sawing wood even.
Wow, they really were multi-purpose.
A true testament to Dutch ingenuity and resourcefulness.
And, it's funny because when you think about it, windmills are kind of the original sustainable power source, aren't they?
Absolutely. Harnessing a natural resource, turning it into usable energy.
It's like they were centuries ahead of their time.
And that legacy continues today.
Because now the Netherlands is a world leader in wind energy, right?
It is. They've taken that knowledge, that experience with wind power, and they've applied it to the modern world.
Offshore wind farms, I'm guessing?
Exactly. Huge wind farms out at sea, generating clean energy.
It makes perfect sense. They've always been masters of harnessing the wind.
It's in their DNA, you could say.
Okay, so we've got water management, wind power. What else is in that Dutch DNA?
Oh, so much more. We haven't even touched on their tech innovations.
Oh, right. They're not just about windmills and dikes.
Not at all. There's one company in particular that I think might surprise you.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Lay it on me.
Have you ever heard of ASML?
Rings a bell? Maybe?
Most people haven't, but they're essential to our modern world.
Yeah, so?
They make the machines that make microchips.
The microchips that are in, like, everything.
Our phones, our computers, all of it. ASML is a world leader in lithography.
Which is?
The super complex process of creating those tiny, intricate circuits on microchips.
So this company, that I've never heard of, is basically responsible for the technology that powers our lives.
It's not an exaggeration to say that. Their technology is absolutely crucial to the global tech industry.
Wow, I had no idea. It's amazing to think that a company from a relatively small country can have such a huge global impact.
It really shows you what's possible with specialized knowledge and innovation.
Okay, but let's not forget about another Dutch company that's a little more well-known, Philips.
Ah, yes, Philips. A household name for sure.
My grandparents had a Philips radio that was practically an antique, but they make so much more than just radios, don't they?
They do. They've been at the forefront of so many technological advancements over the years. Radios, televisions, medical imaging.
Medical imaging. That's pretty far from light bulbs.
It is, but it speaks to their ability to adapt and innovate. They were pioneers in X-ray machines, CT scanners, MRI machines.
Technologies that have revolutionized healthcare.
Exactly. They've helped countless people with their innovations in medical technology.
It's a real legacy, from humble beginnings to life-saving technology.
They've always been pushing the boundaries, looking for ways to improve and innovate.
Okay, so we've talked about Dutch mastery of water and wind, their incredible tech innovations. But there's one more aspect of their ingenuity that I'm really curious to explore, and it's something that most people might not immediately associate with the Netherlands.
Are you thinking what I'm thinking?
I think so.
Yeah.
We need to talk about their military history. It's more than just those star-shaped forts, isn't it?
It is indeed. There's a whole fascinating story there, waiting to be uncovered.
Military history. Not the first thing that comes to mind when you think of the Netherlands, but...
It's a hidden gem, you could say.
And we're going way back.
Yeah.
We touched on those star forts earlier.
The star forts. A classic example of Dutch military innovation.
16th, 17th centuries.
Right around then. The Netherlands was a major naval power at the time.
So they had to defend their interests.
Exactly. And they did it brilliantly. Those forts were incredibly effective.
All thanks to some clever geometry.
Geometry and a deep understanding of strategy. They knew how to make the most of their resources.
But they didn't stop there, did they?
Oh, not at all. The Dutch have always been adaptable. They've continued to innovate in the military sphere right up to the present day.
What sort of things are we talking about? Modern innovations.
Well, for one, they're leaders in naval technology.
Shipbuilding, right.
Yeah.
That makes sense given their history.
Exactly. They design and build some of the most advanced warships and submarines out there.
Really? I had no idea.
It's not something they boast about, but it's a significant part of their industrial and military landscape.
So what about beyond shipbuilding? Other areas of military tech?
They contribute a lot to NATO defense technology as well.
Oh, interesting. In what ways?
They're particularly strong in areas like radar systems, drones.
Drones. Wow, that's cutting edge.
It is, and it speaks to their technological capabilities. They're also experts in amphibious vehicles, by the way.
Amphibious vehicle. Of course, it all circles back to the water, doesn't it?
It does. They've taken their expertise in water management, engineering, and they've applied it to military contexts.
It's that adaptability again, turning their strengths into advantages in new areas.
Exactly. They're not afraid to learn, to evolve, to apply their knowledge in different ways.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into Dutch innovation, I think one thing's clear.
What's that?
The Netherlands consistently punches above its weight.
I completely agree. For such a small country, they've had an outsized impact on the world.
It's inspiring, really. It shows that size doesn't limit ingenuity.
And it all goes back to that spirit of innovation, that willingness to think differently, to challenge the status quo.
We've seen it in their battle against the sea, in their sustainable technologies, in their surprising military strength.
It's a reminder that limitations can often breed creativity.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it makes you wonder, what could the world achieve if we all embraced that Dutch spirit of innovation?
It's a thought-provoking question, one that I hope our listeners will take away with them.
Me too. And on that note, we wrap up our exploration of Dutch ingenuity. from windmills to microchips, from floating farms to high-tech defense systems. It's been a fascinating journey.
It has, and a reminder that innovation can come from unexpected places.
So keep your eyes open, keep asking questions, and who knows, maybe you'll be the next one to turn a challenge into an opportunity, just like the Dutch have done for centuries. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, and until next time, keep innovating.